we are live right here at Fancy Farm. And guess who we got here?
We got Richard Heath. He's going to be running for the Agriculture Commissioner in Kentucky for next year, right? That's we need a little bit more volume on him.
That's all right. Go ahead.
Hey, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Gail Robbins.
Yeah, we defer to them. Yeah.
That's all right. But hey, we'll get you on. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we'll get you.
The Pioneer Award was established in 1988 by Fancy Farm's own, the late Bob and Pat Spalding, to recognize persons who have made special and significant contributions to Graves County. The award is intended to recognize, one, people who give much of their time and energy to help ensure the growth of Graves County in its communities, education, business, or industry, or two, who have shared their talents or gifts to help the young, the elderly, or the needy, or number three, have inspired others to be good stewards and have strong visions of accomplishments. Other members of the Pioneer Award Committee are Darvin Towery, Phil Myers, Graves District Judge Deborah Crooks, Derek Parrott, Doug Sims, Diane Smithson, and Dr. Richard Parker. There are two recipients of the Pioneer Award this year, and the first award will be presented by Diane Smithson.
Folks, thanks for tuning in. You're tuned in to the Mead Truth.
I do want to say first off that I also serve on the picnic committee here at Fancy Farm, and so on behalf of our picnic committee and our Pioneer Award Committee, we want to send our thoughts and prayers to our neighbors in eastern Kentucky who are dealing with such devastation right now. We know all too well in this area what that can be like. So our first winner pours his time, talent, and treasure into every aspect of his life. He has coached his son's baseball team, is a lector in his church, and is the current chairman of our political speaking that most of you are patiently awaiting today. He has served as board chairman of the Mayfield-Graves County Chamber of Commerce, and through the chamber, he founded and served as president of the Mayfield-Graves County Young Professionals. The group is meant to give young professionals the opportunity to network, to increase their engagement in their community, and further develop leadership skills. He was a leading voice and an advocate for the Yes for Mayfield Facebook group that brought about positive growth and change throughout the community. He currently manages this page as a way of keeping the community informed and sharing general information of the going-ons in and around Mayfield and Graves County. In 2016, he was appointed to the Mayfield-Graves County the Mayfield City Council, and in 2018, with the hopes of making a greater impact, he ran for mayor. Although he was narrowly defeated, he continues to focus on growth and economic development. He is a former member of the Mayfield Parks and Recreation Committee and Rotary Club. He is an agricultural consultant for Wave River County's Ag Initiative, which brings recognition to regional agriculture. And while Graves County is not directly part of this initiative, our area greatly benefits from successful initiatives in surrounding counties. He was nominated and selected to participate in the Kentucky Agricultural Leadership Program. Some of the reasons he was selected were, quote, he radiates a passion for helping others, enhancing regional programs, and giving back through community service activities where he leads, follows, and requests assistance to fill gaps. He is a lover of the arts and a big supporter of the Purchase Players, which is our local community theater, where he has performed alongside his son. He also has a passion for photography and has been instrumental in documenting numerous events in and around the Mayfield-Graves County area. It was also his vision to build a stronger community and enhance the quality of life for the youth through philanthropic activities. Thus, as a partnership between the Chamber of Commerce and the local civic clubs, the Mayfield Community Foundation was formed. And then came December 10th, 2021. A historic long-track tornado entered Mayfield and completely devastated the infrastructure. The town was unrecognizable. This individual, like so many others, never wavered, giving 110% to his battered community. That very night, he was out photographing the destruction as well as the heroism of so many. He was out all day, every day, seeking out families who needed assistance. Through the Mayfield Community Foundation, he created a GoFundMe account to raise monetary donations for the tornado victims. The account raised over $1 million, and with the money raised, the foundation was able to provide electricity and heat to the survivors of our storm-ravaged community. He worked with the foundation to partner with local businesses to most effectively use donated funds to help tornado victims, include providing replacement windshields for damaged cars, supplying mattresses to survivors, and even coordinating the donation of over a dozen vehicles for victims greatly affected by the storm. The foundation was able to also partner with Homes and Hope for Kentucky, on which he serves as a board member, and together they have donated 5 new homes to families with 18 more under construction. He also organized the collection of bricks from the various businesses and churches that were damaged and or destroyed. His vision is to create a wall that will serve as a memorial to those who lost so much. While his passion for his community is exceptional, his passion for his family is what gives him life. He and his wife have 2 children, and he supports them in every facet of their lives. He rarely misses an opportunity to expose them to the innumerable aspects of life and immerse them in not only the extraordinary, but also the dismal. In November of 2020, his father was placed on a ventilator due to COVID. He would spend the next 365 days on a ventilator with extremely limited to no visitation. This son, who loved his father immensely, decided that on his own 41st birthday would ride his bike 41 miles to the hospital where his dad was fighting for his life. His dad ultimately made it home and was, by the grace of God, doing exceptionally well. On May 7th of this year, by that same grace and with scarred lungs, his dad would succumb to complications from battling COVID. I have no doubt in my mind that his father is looking down today, fist-bumping God and everyone within Heaven's Gate, shouting, "That's my boy." It is with great honor and admiration, and on behalf of the entire Pioneer Award Committee, that I present Stephen Elder with one of this year's Pioneer Awards.
So I'm glad you're tuning in. This is such a tremendous honor. Stephen Elder has been one of the key players in getting us a spot here today.
Yeah, he has been. It's been he was instrumental in allowing us to get in here. He gave us a spot up here up front.
He even cleaned up well. Look, he was pretty scruffy earlier. So.
He was working his tail off when we first got here. So he's done real well.
Yeah, so this would not be possible without him and the connections. Obviously, working with everybody and just in the GOP to get here today and see everybody here. So. We're excited to have a live podcast. This is a first ever, I think, and for Meade County, and we've got a seat at the table. Let you at home get to make your own choices.
That's right. You get to see what's going on here at Fancy Farm and experience it a little bit of it for yourself live. And we're going to bring it here. All the speeches here.
The second award will be presented.
Another award coming up.
Deborah Crooks.
Good afternoon. The Bible in the book of Matthew chapter 25 verses 35 through 45 reads in part, "I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was a stranger and you took me in. I was naked and you clothed me." One of this year's Pioneer Award winners exemplifies each of these attributes. From a young age, he assisted his family in repairing the homes of the poor and needy. He assisted the elderly by helping in their gardens, helping clean their homes, or just visiting with them. As an adult running a restaurant, he has always been open to extending a hand up by hiring ex-cons, recovering addicts, or folks with special needs. He has mentored youth, teaching them hunting, trapping, and fishing skills. He hosts special events for the children of Gold Star families, veterans, those who suffer from PTSD, and others. He also assists with school events and community fundraisers. During the ice storm and other snow events, he has cooked and fed people at his restaurant, checked on others to make sure that they had power and heat, delivered food and fuel. He has handed money to the homeless and occasionally put them up in his own home until he could assist them in finding alternative housing. Much of what he has done went unnoticed until the catastrophic December 10, 2021 tornado that devastated much of Mayfield and Graves County. After the tornado, he sprang into action. He and his family, employees, and others prepared and served or delivered over 200,000, yes, 200,000 meals to feed tornado victims and volunteers. With the help of donations, he began to deliver propane heaters and fuel for heaters and generators to those without electricity. He befriended many survivors who just needed reassurance or an ear to listen. One gentleman he encountered had no shoes or socks, so he gave him his own socks and new boots, and then walked barefoot in cold and snow to a local store to get more for himself. He turned a camp on his own property into short-term housing, tiny homes where the homeless and displaced could receive not only shelter but also support services such as budgeting, help with navigating insurance and housing issues, getting counseling, finding employment. More recent projects underway involve the renovation of existing homes and apartments to house homeless and the renovation of a tornado-damaged structure to become a Veterans Assistance Center. There is not enough time available this afternoon to list all of the accomplishments of this nominee, but I think we can all agree he is doing the Lord's work as encouraged by the book of Matthew. And our committee is very proud to give this Pioneer Award to Micah Sievers.
Well, if you're tuning in, we're getting some awards presented to get us kicked off, and I've got sitting next to us, Mark, who's a special guest that we have sitting next to us.
We have Nancy Tate, who just decided to join us. Welcome to the podcast, Nancy.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and sit in this perfect spot. I mean, we've got a great spot here, and we get to see all the candidates and hear all the conversations, so this is a great day.
It is. It's going to be really awesome. I can't wait for the political speeches, but it's just as important to have these awards and let people see there are people in this community, especially in this community right now, that came up out of the tornadoes and things like that just a year ago.
Absolutely.
And it's like, this is there's a lot of community spirit here, and it's Kentucky spirit if you ask me. So that's the way I look at it, and I'm glad we're here to be able to share these awards and see what's going on.
Absolutely. And then, not only that, but they appreciate us coming out here and spending our precious dollars, too. So they need those dollars for their community to continue to rebuild.
Yeah, and I think that, we'll continue to plug Fancy Farm coming down here. It's not just about the political speeches, like Nancy was saying. It's really about, the St. Jerome's Picnic. We're really happy to be able to come down here and bring ourselves and a few other folks with us and be able to, just be a part of this and like you said, spend some money here, help build up the church here locally. The church is not about the building; it's about the people who fill the building, and it's about the things that those people need to do to help their community. And you can really feel that spirit here, as much as we do back home in Brandenburg and Meade County.
That's right. Mark, I just had a great picnic dinner over there in the school and the cafeteria area. And on their sign, they say that they've prepared 9 tons of mutton.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to calculate
just
how
the mutton.
many.
And there was chicken and pork.
And pork,
yeah.
That's right. And I'm trying to calculate how many sheep actually it took to produce 9 tons of mutton, but it was delicious. So I'm not going to concentrate on that too much. I'm going to concentrate on it was good.
It looked really good.
It was really good.
But I got to tell you, I went straight for the fried chicken.
Oh, good for you.
And I think the refreshing part was the, if I could describe this to all of our viewers, it was the onions and the cucumbers that were amazing too.
Absolutely. And the fresh tomatoes.
Oh.
Yum.
Yeah, we were commenting it was well worth the $15. It was buffet style. Take what you want, and then try to get Sorry about the music in the background, folks. It's when in between. One of the downsides of having such a good seat is we're right up here by the music. So
I think it's coming through okay, though. I think they can hear us just fine. So.
As long as we're able to do this, and it sounds good. We're going to continue to commentate and visit with Nancy here.
So Nancy, since we do have you here, what can we expect from Fancy Farms, from somebody who may have never even known this happened, and that may tune into us? What's the one thing that you think that they should be looking for and watching this all go down?
Well, this is just a lot of fun heckling. I'll just put it that way. Any candidate that has the opportunity to get up on stage will be heckled,
Okay.
And so it takes a lot of a strong backbone and a willingness
a lot of grit.
A lot of grit, that's right, and to not take yourself too serious.
Okay,
that's right.
So, do you think they brought some rhino liner to put some on in case they take a chunk out?
Absolutely, that's right. Yeah.
You'll see some flying today, I'm sure.
All right, well, and actually, any candidate any elected official has the opportunity of being pulled up on the stage.
Oh wow! So you could get pulled up there.
I could get pulled. I doubt it, but I could get pulled up there.
Now you've been on that stage before, haven't you?
I have not. No, I could be because a lot of the elected officials are on the stage, but I'd rather sit down here with you guys.
Well, I'm glad to have you.
We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
So Nancy, not to put you on the spot or anything. So, is there anything that you like to you want to bring up? I know we want to talk about the amendment a little bit.
Sure,
and
absolutely.
you want to share a little bit about that?
That's right.
And what we're trying to do.
I'm down here with the Kentucky Right for Life, as you guys, as I've made known, I've been involved in this movement for 30 years. And so I'm down here promoting the constitutional amendment number 2 to make sure that people are aware that it's going to be on the ballot. Typically, an amendment is on the back of the ballot. So frequently we don't turn it over and see what's on the back.
Right.
But this constitutional amendment is so important for us. And basically it says, I laugh and say it's only 9 words, but it says that there's nothing in the Constitution that allows for an abortion or the funding of an abortion. So, 76% of our population do not want their tax dollars to be spent
That's right.
funding abortions. And so this is a protection of your tax dollars.
Now I know this is difficult, but I saw a debate in a college campus where, the gentleman tried to get the student to agree with him. He said, so if you would agree with abortion if you were raped or incested, that's what you want. You want rape or abortion, you should be able to go get a rape or incest, you should be able to go get an abortion. Well, he tried to get her to agree, well, then if we could castrate the people who rape and do that, and we do damage to them so it becomes a deterrent, then you would agree that that's okay too, and then she wouldn't agree. And I'm like, well, which is the worst evil? I would rather go and say, if you do this, we're going to take you out. Then we never have to face the issue of abortion, which I thought was a great comment, because that's where people get stuck. Well, I want to be able to have a choice. Well, we also want you to be able to live free and not have to worry about somebody doing that to you. And if we took care of that, then we would never have to have the conversation about abortion.
Absolutely. Well, from my perspective, and I've never shied away from this. As far as I'm concerned, the offender should be prosecuted, not the poor baby.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
And that's where he was going.
That's the key.
That is the key. Yeah. So I will continue to be a defender of that, and I am a strong supporter of life from conception to natural death.
Amen.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Well, I think what we'll do is we'll take a quick break, let the music play, and come back when it times down a little bit.
And we'll talk about Constitution Amendment number 1 also.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Live from Fantasy Farm.
Cause mama, I'm sure all the hand and I gets around. Oh, the hand now. Oh yeah, let me light your candle, cause mama, I'm sure all the hand and I gets around. Yeah. So all the hand now. Oh yeah. Baby. A good love hand.
There's Ryan.
I am excited if you are here, folks. There's a lot going on here at Fancy Farm. I got Nancy Tate sitting here at the table with me and Mark, and it is interesting.
Well,
let's talk about that.
Amendment 1.
Amendment 1.
All right.
Yeah.
That sounds good. So amendment number 1 is very important to us as well. You know, I could not always say that about the amendments that I've helped put on the ballot, but these 2 amendments I strongly support. Amendment number 1 basically says that in odd years, the legislative body has 30 days. This is our Constitution right now. Odd years, we have 30 days, and in even years, we have 60 days. But we're required by the Constitution to adjourn by a particular date. Now, we found that in 2020, when COVID broke out, that this does not work for us. So, because we adjourned in April, and then we weren't allowed to come back into session until January of 2021.
And that left the governor to run amok and do whatever he wanted, whatever, to react to COVID in some pretty adverse ways for us in Kentucky.
I totally agree with that. In addition to the way our Constitution, the way our founding fathers designed the 3 branches of government, one branch should not have that much responsibility.
That's right.
I would agree with that all day long.
That's right. Yeah, so what Constitutional Amendment number 1 says is that we will not use all of our 30 days or 60 days and adjourn by April 15th. That what we'll do is we can save some of those days and then call ourselves back into session later on in the year if we choose to, if we see the need to.
That's a very, very good that's a very good solution to the problem, because you're not going into and adding days.
Right.
So, but you guys can choose to save some of those, put those in your pocket and bring them back out if needed or as needed, down the line. So that's a really good solution.
Yeah, and one of the things, and I don't know the numbers anymore, I think at one point whenever I looked at it, there were like 14 states. We were one of 14 states that could not call ourselves back into session.
It just doesn't seem practical.
I agree.
Especially in this day and age when there are things that happen on a moment's notice, and not that it didn't happen before, it's just, there's things right now, there's so many more people, there's so much going on in the world that, it seems like you should be able to call, the legislature should be able to come back in and react to what's going on.
Yeah, and one of the things too that the people that are serving right now, what we've done is that we have absolutely demonstrated that the House owns the purse.
That's right.
And we want to, then this is just another example of how the House is responsible for the purse.
Don't get me started on the great work that you've done,
Thank you.
Especially given that our region, especially in your district, that part of Kentucky is about 65% of the growth in the state.
That's exactly
and
right.
Infrastructure is part of that. You know where I stand. Vote Troy Koch for judge executive. But it takes the plan's there, but we need somebody to lead that plan, and we've got to have somebody that can work with people like you in office, and then the governor office. This race is coming up. Why you're here today, folks, and watching the candidates run, these are the folks that are going to hold the strings to helping the people, especially you in the House, get that purse, especially from our federal and then from the state.
From the state, that's exactly right. And we absolutely, I keep saying this, but we have to have somebody that's strategic.
That's right.
We need somebody who has demonstrated leadership and is very strategic. Tactical won't get it. We have to have strategy.
Absolutely.
Right. And
long-term thinker. We would like to know what 2025 Meade County looks like. We would like to know what 2030 Meade County looks like.
Yeah, I've never worked in an operation where we haven't had a 5 to 10 year plan. And I want a 5 to 10 year plan, a strategic plan, and then we can put the tactical plan behind that.
Well, with you in office, with Troy, if we can get him elected, and then depending on how this governor race turns out, there's a lot up for grabs right now. This midterm election year, it's crucial. It is crucial to our nation.
It certainly is crucial.
And our state.
I said, I've always said this. I said, I've spent the last 30 years waiting for the next election. And I guess I'll spend the next 30 years waiting for the next election. Every one of them is so crucial.
Everyone is important.
Everyone is crucial.
In years past, it's a shame that we don't have more people going to the polls, especially in the midterms.
Oh, yeah.
We need all the Republicans to come out and vote this midterm. It's very important. One, these amendments that we just discussed are vital to all of us in Kentucky. We need we need you all to come out and vote in favor of these amendments.
Yeah, so we just saw what happened in Kansas, right?
That's
Kansas
right.
had a similar Constitution amendment that they had on their ballot. The bad thing is that it was a primary for them. But the other thing is that their constitutional amendment was
Will
much
all the
more
guests please come
lengthy.
to the stage and
So
have
we need
a
to talk
seat?
about
We're
that
fixing
too.
to get started in a couple minutes.
But we were
2-minute warning.
2-minute warning. Yeah, but we saw where their constitutional amendment failed, 60-40, and so the opposition brought it was a $12 million advertisement for or against. So that tells you how much money is at stake.
It is.
For abortions.
It is. It's I read the article about Kansas's law. I was surprised that Kansas. It seems like the article said that Kansas had a law.
Heckling begin.
The heckling has begun.
It is. Hear it all, guys. But Kansas. I was surprised to say the way the article read is Kansas had a law that basically codified Roe into Kansas law.
It could possibly have.
And so if it was that, I was really surprised that Kansas. I've always felt that Kansas was a pretty conservative state overall, and the fact that they couldn't get this removed or changed in their law that surprised me a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah. But I think it's actually a wake-up call for Kentucky.
It is.
We want to be the pace setter for pro-life, and this is our opportunity to demonstrate that we are.
Well, I know it looks like the music's getting ready to get loud on us again. Oh, there it is.
Gonna cut us out. So, folks, if you've never been to Fancy Farm, this is on fire. It's going crazy.
We're getting ready to have a blast. We're getting ready to blast off here.
I don't even know what it must sound like on the other side of the microphone. I'm probably yelling at my. It's crazy.
Just pull us down. Just pull us down.
All right, say your prayers, everyone. Good afternoon. And welcome to our 142nd annual St. Jerome Catholic Church picnic here in Fancy Farm, Kentucky. I do want to thank all of you, our very special guests out there, my distinguished platform guests. Thank you all for showing up. Our chairman, Andy Hayden. Where's Andy at? Andy's back there. Thank you very much. Our pastor, Father Darrell's right beside him. Our media friends, thank you all for showing up. And our men and women in law enforcement who protect us and keep us safe. And most importantly, our servicemen and women who allow us the freedom to assemble here. I want to especially thank KET and Renee Shaw, Casey Parker Bell for carrying the live production here, along with our local media, WPSD, and thank you all for sharing the picnic with the world. As most of you know, our county, Graves County and Mayfield, suffered tremendous loss from the December 2001 tornado. Help from across the Commonwealth and from across the world poured into our communities. We are forever grateful for your donations and for volunteering to get us back on our feet. One of the reasons we celebrate here today at this picnic is because in this community, it is an important step for us to return to a sense of normalcy. We are thankful you are here with us today, and we hope you'll be with us in our rebuilding efforts for many months and years to come. If you have not seen the city of Mayfield, I encourage you to travel through the city before you leave and think of us often. At this point, I do want to recognize we do have the current mayor of the city of Mayfield, Kathy Onan. Kathy, where are you at? Thank you, Kathy, for your leadership. As excited as I am to be here today, at the same time, we are thinking of those in Eastern Kentucky. The citizens of Graves County knows what it's like for Mother Nature to come roaring into your town and try to disrupt your community, your homes, and try to break your spirit. Even though we are here at this picnic on this political platform, devastation knows no party lines. If there's anything that brings Kentuckians together, it has been these natural disasters over the past year. So let me ask you to pause for a moment of silence for the victims of the flooding. And let us resolve as Kentuckians to do whatever it takes to support them in their recovery efforts, just as the world did so for us here in Western Kentucky. Please pause with me. Thank you all. It is truly an honor to stand before you here today as chairman to serve in this capacity at the picnic. I couldn't do it without my co-chairs, Tara Elder and Mark and Lori Wilson. Where are you all at? Now, before we get too far, this is the second year that our senators have not been able to make it to Fancy Farm due to them being held in Washington, D.C. So I've come up with two options that I'm going to let you all decide. Here's an option. For the Democrats, invite Senator Schumer as next year's MC and make Charles Booker the next Kentucky senator. All right, that's an option. Here's another option. For the Republicans, re-elect Senator Paul, flip the U.S. Senate, and have Leader McConnell set the schedule. So there's a couple options for you. You all decide, but we certainly want our senators here in Fancy Farm. I do want to remind you that this is a fundraiser for our parish. Be sure to try some of our great barbecue, an ice cold sundrop, play some bingo for the great prizes that we have, and take a chance on our new Chevy pickup truck out there. All of this money does go for charity for the various ministries here at St. Jerome. I now want to introduce to you the Most Reverend William Medley, Bishop of the Owensboro Diocese, who will now come forward and lead us in the invocation. Bishop.
I want to thank Father Darrell Venters and the people of St. Jerome and Fancy Farm for inviting me each year to be here, and it's certainly good that we can be here again after the hiatus that the COVID epidemic placed upon us. But always proper to pray and call upon Almighty God's blessings. And I would echo that prayer, that all of our prayers and our hearts are turned toward the people of Graves County and all of Western Kentucky who now strive to rebuild their lives and their homes and their communities, and our dear neighbors and our neighbors in Eastern Kentucky who likewise strive now to rebuild. Let us pray. Almighty and eternal God, you have revealed your glory to all nations. God of power and might, wisdom and justice, through you authority is rightly administered, laws are enacted, and judgment is decreed. Bless the people of St. Jerome and Fancy Farm, who today welcome to their community tens of thousands. May the welcome and food their gifts receive nourish both their bodies and their spirits. May all be greeted here as Christ. Let the light of your divine wisdom direct the discourse of all who would be public servants. Bless them, Lord, for their generosity and willingness to serve in the public realm, and protect them from uncharitable scrutiny. We pray for the President of the United States and all members of Congress. We pray for the Governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky and members of our state legislature. We pray for local leaders and servants. May all seek to preserve peace, promote the common good and happiness, continue to bring the blessings of liberty and equality to to all who have been created as children of one God and Creator. Bless the citizens of our nation, that we may prosper in the knowledge of God's ways and be sanctified in the observance of your holy law. May we be preserved in union and that peace which the world cannot give. Bless, Lord, the men and women who serve our nation, particularly those who today serve in armed conflict. Bless in an extraordinary way those called to be leaders of state, of education, and churches, to call all people to sacrifice for the common good as our community, our nation, and the world serve to bring healing from the COVID virus. Give us a sense of the dignity of all life created in the image and likeness of God. Bless healthcare workers and scientists that show your wisdom and your charity. We trust, dear God, that you are the way, the truth, and the life that will lead us to peace and wellness. Bless and comfort all victims of war. Keep them safe from harm. May each of us be instruments of peace, that the day may soon come that conflicts need not be resolved by violence. Bless the poor of our nation and the world. Never let us forget, Lord, that these are our brothers and sisters, and the bounty of your creation is intended for all. Lord, let charity prevail here today, that everything we say and everything we do may serve to build up your kingdom of justice, light, and truth. We ask our humble prayer in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you, Bishop Bentley. For the singing of the national anthem in my old Kentucky home, we wanted to bring talent and treasure from Mayfield, Kentucky. This year's singing of our national anthem will be former mayor of Mayfield, Teresa Rochetti Cantrell. Teresa served 2 terms as mayor from 2011 to 2018. She is now the executive director of the Annie Gardner Foundation, which serves those less fortunate here in Graves County. Teresa, will you please come forth?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Wow. Thank you very much, Mayor. All right, the next artists are two lifelong residents of Mayfield and Graves County. Carter Parks graduated from Mayfield High School this past year, and he is attending Murray State this fall. Alex Goodman is a small business owner, award masters in Mayfield. Both are involved with our Community Performing Arts Center that was damaged during the tornado, but the board and folks like Carter and Alex repaired the Purchase Players building and had 3 different shows since December. Carter and Alex, please come forward to sing My Old Kentucky Home.
Here's your chords.
Well, the sun shines bright on my old Kentucky home. 'Tis summer, the people are gay. Where the corn tops rise and the meadows in the bloom, while the birds make music all the day. Well, the young folks roll all around the cabin floor. They're merry, all happy and bright. By and by, hard times will come a-knocking at the door. Then my old Kentucky home, good night. Oh, weep no more, my lady. Oh, weep no more today. We'll sing one song for my old Kentucky home, for my old Kentucky home far away. Oh, weep no more, my lady. Oh, weep no more today. We'll sing one song for my old Kentucky home, for my old Kentucky home far away. For my old Kentucky home far away.
I just can't get over that the national anthem was crazy.
It was.
That was
crazy.
beautiful.
That was a
Carter.
beautiful rendition
Very
of the
much.
My Old Kentucky Home as well.
I do want to recognize our timekeeper, so we are going to keep these folks up here on time. Miss Barton, who was my 7th and 8th grade teacher, is right down here in front. She will hold increments of 1 minute. You got that one ready? 30 seconds, and then time's up. So you got that stop sign, and then if speakers go over, this is what we're going to play.
Oh, that's priceless right there. That's from Jed Clampett.
That's Kentucky all the way right there.
That's right. I might have to get it in clog in a minute.
Hey, that's when Jed Clampett
All
was
right,
moving
so
the
now
family to
you guys
Beverly
all
Hills.
I
have
can
a good
still
time.
fog.
Be considerate as possible. Allow the candidates to speak. Cheer in your ear as much as you want, and then let's move forward. Noisemakers. Now let's not have those, but we'll have maybe some of the security come get you if you got a noisemaker or two. But anyway, we're going to go on to our MC. He's no stranger to the political arena. He's been on this stage many times before. House Speaker David Osborne has served in the Kentucky House of Representatives since 2005. He was sworn in on January 8, 2019 to serve as the Speaker of the Kentucky House of Representatives. Speaker Osborne represents the 59th House District, which is comprised of part of Oldham County. Osborne was a recipient of the Children's Alliance 2022 Champion for Children's Award, Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky's Champion for Children's Mary Ellen Award in 2018, and the 2020 Outstanding Service Award from the Kentucky Association of Chiefs of Police. The Speaker is also a recipient of multiple MVP awards from the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce. In addition, as a lawmaker, Osborne owns and operates Deerfield Farm, a thoroughbred racing and breeding operation in Prospect. He is a member of the Oldham County Chamber of Commerce, Farm Bureau, the National Association of Realtors, as well as Realtors Land Institute. He is also a member of several breeders and equine associations.
Just a little walk-up music.
Raised in Oldham County. Osborne graduated from Oldham County High School and continued his education at the University of Kentucky, where he graduated with honors and a Bachelor of Science degree in Economics and Agricultural Economics. Osborne continues to operate his real estate business for 30 years, specializing in farms and land. He and his wife Lori live in Prospect. Please welcome Speaker Osborne to the stage.
But that's how it goes. Millions of people live in this world.
Thank you, Steve. Welcome to the 142nd Annual Fancy Farm Picnic. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's an honor to be your MC. You know, every single day when I walk out into the House chambers, I play that song in the back of my mind. But this is the first time anybody else has ever gotten to hear it. An event of this magnitude obviously doesn't just happen overnight. It takes the work of a lot of volunteers working behind the scenes. I want to recognize Bishop Medley, Father Venters, Stephen Elder at the Fancy Farm Picnic Committee, and all the volunteers who make this day possible. I also want to thank all of you for coming down today for this fundraiser. That's right, it's a fundraiser. So get your wallets out, buy some barbecue, play some bingo, buy a chance on the truck. For any gambling on sports other than the blood sport of politics, you're going to have to go across the river to Missouri or Illinois. I also want to welcome my wife, Lori, who is making her maiden appearance in Fancy Farm. Now, she's been after me to take a vacation, and I will tell you, she is still utterly speechless about the RV trip I planned down here. I'm serious. She's literally not been able to speak a word to me since I announced my plans. Don't worry, honey. Next time we'll get you something really nice. In all seriousness, it is truly an honor to be here. I appreciate the traditions of this great place, and today's event means so much more after all this community has been through over the past 8 months. It is proof that Kentuckians are resilient and that we're willing to fight for what's important. Of course, Fancy Farm is all about speeches, and you never know what somebody might say. As a matter of fact, as this year's MC, I am here to announce that I am running for nothing else. Yet. I like my current job. I'm proud to preside over a House chamber that's committed to building a better and stronger Kentucky for everyone and building a better life for generations to come. Since taking the majority, we've delivered on every campaign promise we've made, passing the most responsible budgets in history, protecting the values we hold dear, and working to grow economies and communities across Kentucky. For the first time in generations, there's a sense that the best is yet to come. That's, of course, if we can keep the governor from giving everything that we've taken in away. For 3 consecutive budgets, we've spent less than we've taken in, something that government simply does not do. But we believe Kentuckians should keep more of their hard-earned money. And as a result, we created the largest budget reserve in Kentucky's history, and we passed legislation to eliminate Kentucky's income tax. And guess what? The voters of Kentucky agree. We've seen it in elections over the last 2 decades, and just last month we saw the state flip. Folks, for the first time in history, registered Republicans now outnumber Democrats.
To me, it's more than just R&D. It's about policy. Now, obviously, R&D is the scoreboard we use to keep score. And by gosh, we are running up the score in a gaudy manner. We're seeing it even this year as KDP could only find candidates to challenge a third of our incumbents, and we are fielding candidates in 89 of Kentucky's 100 seats. A whole lot of old Democrats rolling in their graves. But at least they've got something to do now that Michael Adams has made it harder for them to vote. Since we're talking about being outnumbered, Charles, we're glad that Coleman and Jimmy could join you. And for the record, even when you're in the majority, you sometimes feel outnumbered. For Pete's sake, in our own caucus, I have factions larger than the entire Democratic Party. Reminds me of an often used Mitch McConnell joke where he talks about being the leader is like being the groundskeeper at a cemetery. Everybody's underneath you, but nobody's listening. I also want to take a moment to extend our best wishes to President Biden as he recovers and recovers and recovers yet again from COVID. We're all hopefully doesn't get COVID brain. You know, I hear it leads to sleepiness, trouble speaking, confusion. Whoops. It's been a tough year for Joe. He continues to set new personal records for low approval ratings. This doesn't surprise anyone who's ever sat around the kitchen table, tried to figure out how to pay their bills when they can't afford to put gas in their car or food on the table. Inflation is at a 40-year high. Interest rates are rising, and the policies of liberal Democrats continue to be more and more out of touch with reality. They think that the answer to fuel costs is buying more electric vehicles, that government, not parents, know what's best for their children, and that Title IX can be hijacked to let men compete as women. Abby Steiner should not have to compete against Leah Thomas. Even Caitlyn Jenner doesn't buy that one. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. I have had folks ask me for several days now, it's serious, how you can be funny with so many people that are experiencing tragedy here in Kentucky. And it's difficult to be funny during these times, we know that, but our sense of humor has helped us endure in times before and only sharpens our resolve to keep the communities recovering from these tragic disasters. Our hearts are heavy, and are with those that are suffering in eastern Kentucky, as well as those that are still recovering from the tornadoes here in western Kentucky. But today I will honor the tradition of Fancy Farm with a good bit of good-spirited fun, just as the generations before us did when they faced their own challenges. Now that we've gotten the elephant out of the room, let's talk about the donkey in the room. Actually, it's the donkey, it's not in the room. As you know, not everybody was able to make it down here today. In fact, I've got good news for you. My remarks have gotten considerably shorter since the governor's cancellation of his trip to Israel. Have my materials going. But in all seriousness, I appreciate the governor's work, and I thank him and his administration for their handling of the flooding in eastern Kentucky and for making the decision to stay here in Kentucky rather than go overseas. I think it goes without saying that we have one of the finest emergency response teams in the nation. But that doesn't mean I'm going to let him off the hook for initially choosing to be out of the country instead of here in West Kentucky at Fancy Farm. And we also have a couple of elephants that are not in the room. As you've heard, Leader McConnell and Senator Paul have been retained in D.C., and that took a better part of the rest of my material, so it's gotten shorter. Trust me, there's absolutely nothing funny about Leader McConnell and Senator Paul working together. And we all know that the governor will be on the ballot next year in 2023. And he will obviously be here at Fancy Farm. And he will be here on the stage making a speech And after he loses next fall, I'm sure that the political committee will be more than happy to have him back in 2025, which will be the next time that a Democrat can be the MC. All right, let's get to work. I know I said it's difficult to find humor, but let's face it, it's impossible not to make fun of some of you all. And some of you just aren't very funny. Before I introduce our first speaker, let's go through some ground rules. Of course, the first rule of Fancy Farm is the rules don't apply to the MC. And you've already heard that you got to watch your time, but let's be respectful of others, both here and on KET. No noisemakers, no chanting while folks are speaking, and no cursing. Let's keep it civil. I am not afraid to use this. Am I right, Charles? Just kidding, Charles. Speaker Pro Tem David Meade made a cameo in your last TV commercial. I don't intend to make it in this one. All right, let's get started. As Speaker of the House, let me set this here where I can get close to it. As Speaker of the House, I think it's quite fitting that we begin with legislators that represent Graves County in the State House and the State Senate. Our first speaker is a familiar face, Senator Jason Howell, the senator for 7 counties in the Jackson Purchase. Jason lives in Murray with his wife and 3 children, was born and raised in Fulton County. Senator Howell has been a welcome voice in the Senate, providing a calm, rational leadership approach that helps take the edge off of even his prickliest colleagues, including Damon Thayer. Senator Howell, welcome to the stage.
Thanks, appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's good to see that you speak so softly and carry a big stick down here in Fancy Farm like you do in Frankfort. Good afternoon. On behalf of everyone in my parish, or my district, I'd like to welcome all of you to the 142nd Annual Fancy Farm Picnic. Thanks to Father Venters, Stephen Elder, Mark Wilson, Andy Hayden, and all the countless volunteers and members of St. John Parish for all the hard work they do in putting this great event on. It's an honor to be on stage with so many distinguished leaders in our state, and I'm excited to tell y'all that we actually do have a confirmed sighting of a Democrat this year. Charles, great to see you down here. I'm not sure you're 1 in a million, but you're 1 more than we had up here last year. It's great to be back here with you today. Last year, I stood up in front of you and talked about how we decided to come to Western Kentucky to raise our family and our children here. It's natural to be proud of where you're from. All of us say it. Most of us mean it. The pride in our home is part of who we are. We know it without thinking about the why. Sometimes in life, something happens that transitions us from knowing to understanding. On December 10th last year, we came to understand why we are proud to be from Western Kentucky. With that, we understand what our brothers and sisters in Eastern Kentucky are going through as well. Know this, we love you, we support you, and we stand with you as you're going through this horrible experience. The countless ways our communities rallied around ourselves both humbled me and made me proud to live here and represent our district. That December night, the selfless service of farmers and business owners like Keith Lowry, who loaded up his track hoe in the dark in the middle of the night to come to Mayfield to help dig people out of the rubble. Now, I know many of you never tried to load a track hoe on a lowboy at any point in their life. It's not easy. It had to be really difficult in the dark. There's an old saying that when one door closes, another door opens. That's where we are today with the rebuilding of our communities. Many of the things we will have will never be the same again, and we know that. We understand that, and we're stepping forward to build for the future. As the great philosopher Willie Nelson once said, "It's been rough and rocky traveling, but I'm finally standing upright on the ground." That's where we are, and I'll be honored to be part of your journey for our recovery in this area every step of the way. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Jason. You know, in too short, Senator Howe has rapidly become one of the favorite members of the Senate for us here in the House. But you understand what a low bar that is. Next up is one of the most trustworthy, likable guys I've ever had the privilege of serving with, Representative Richard Heath. Of course, when you got a guy as nice as Richard, it's hard to make fun of him at his expense. It's true that Richard spent most of his life on a tractor, but never as much as the days after the tornado. We were in constant communication, at first trying to make sure that after he and Ruth and their family were safe, and then working on legislation to provide resources for this area. Every time I reached out to Richard, he was working to help his community. The first time I saw him in person was a few days after the tornadoes when we brought some truckloads of supplies down, and he was still working well into the dark. Richard, let's hear what you have to say.
Well, hello and welcome to Graves County. We always look forward to Fancy Farm, but this year it's even more special. I want to also join with the others to thank Father Venters and the St. Jerome Parish, Stephen Elder for chairing the Public Speaking Committee, and Andy Hayden for the chairing the Picnic Committee, and the guys that work with them, and the Hunt that worked to make this. I'm so proud of my community and the comeback that we're making. I know as many of you drove through today, you said you went through and looked at the tornado damage, and I know it looks different to you as a visitor from out of town, but I can assure you that the folks here are still driven by love of faith and family and country. A little bit of history here. I ran for the House in 2012 because I felt like my experience in farming and agribusiness and small business could be of use to the state that I love. We're making business here in Kentucky, we're making business-friendly decisions, and now we're reaping the benefits from those with the record number of industries locating here in Kentucky. We've lowered our income tax from 6% to 4.5% beginning January of next year, with the plan to eliminate income tax in Kentucky altogether. We passed legislation to protect life and protect our Second Amendment rights. We've also passed legislation to prohibit biological males from competing in women's sports. I have granddaughters that play sports, and this is very dear to my heart. Last year, I filed a letter of intent to run for re-election as state representative in 2022, and that's what I'm doing. I also filed a letter of intent to run for Commissioner of Agriculture in 2023. Some people think that's strange, but I wanted to be honest and open and transparent with the voters in District 2 and the voters in Kentucky. If I'm fortunate enough to be elected as Commissioner of Agriculture, I feel like the state of Kentucky can benefit from the life experiences that I bring. If I'm not successful in winning the race for Commissioner of Agriculture, I hope to continue serving as state representative and chair the House Agriculture Committee. Either way, I feel like that I can benefit the state with my experience, and I'm eager and ready to serve. You see, I know what it looks like from the seat of the tractor, from the back of a tobacco setter, and from the inside of a hog barn. I know what it's like to stare at the books and try to figure out how to make ends meet in times like this. As I stand here today, I ask for your vote and your support. Before I finish, I want to thank the thousands of folks who came here to help us recover and rebuild from the tornadoes in December. I also want to reach out
Our next speaker was to have been Leader McConnell, who has been speaking at Fancy Farm, my gosh, since most folks on this stage were in preschool. As a matter of fact, I think his first time here was when he was interning for Henry Clay, and this was still new territory. It's not It's not by accident, however, that I pick Henry Clay, because I think when the history books are written, Leader McConnell will go down as one of the greatest leaders in our state and nation's history. He has brought countless resources to the Commonwealth of Kentucky, engineered a major restoration of the federal judiciary, and is the architect of Kentucky's Republican Revolution. Leader McConnell, we thank you for your service to the Commonwealth. Of course, everyone knows why the governor and the senators couldn't be here today. The lieutenant governor couldn't be here today. Well, we don't really know why the lieutenant governor couldn't be here. She just said she wasn't coming. Kind of like those unemployment checks she promised. So now we get to welcome Kentucky Democrat Party's chairman and standard bearer, Coleman Eldridge. Coleman, we get it. There was a time when only Republican we could get to come down here and speak was our party chair. I am told one year it was so bad that they made Larry Forgy chairman for a day just so we could have somebody speak on this stage. But hey, making the trip has the added benefit of making sure that Charles doesn't switch to independent while he's down here. Many of us in Frankfort remember Coleman from the first Beshear administration when he worked for this governor's father. Of course, today he really has the worst job in politics. Every single day, he has to put a positive spin on the Biden policies and the Democratic election results. To paraphrase former Speaker of the House and Fancy Farm MC, Bobby Richardson, the future of the Democratic Party is the past. It can't be easy, especially as once was written by one of your own members, you're fighting a war machine with a pea shooter. But maybe you have the necessary skills for the job. Coleman, welcome to the stage.
Hello, Fancy Farm. Last December, tornadoes raged through West Kentucky and tested your communities. Yet, as Kentuckians, we came together. And the entire Commonwealth joined in prayer for the people of West Kentucky. And every step of the way, you had a friend and a grandson of West Kentucky, our governor, Andy Beshear. Now, Governor Beshear made it clear that our Commonwealth would not forget you, and he has kept his promise. Since last December, Governor Beshear has been in West Kentucky more than 36 times, bringing the resources of the Commonwealth of Kentucky as you recover. And even before the tornadoes, Andy Beshear promised not to forget you, and that is why during the Beshear-Coleman administration, more than 153 projects have been announced here, investing more than $5 billion and creating more than 7,000 good-paying jobs right here in West Kentucky. But as we gather, there are families that are dealing with unimaginable grief and loss due to the historic, deadly flooding. Once again, our governor is showing through his actions how we show up in moments of devastation and embrace our fellow Kentuckians, not as Democrats or Republicans, but as Kentuckians. To the people of Eastern Kentucky, we love you, we are with you, and we will not leave your side. Now, I am proud to be on this stage as the first African American to lead the Kentucky Democratic Party, and to do so with our next U.S. Senator, Charles Booker. Now, we learned last week that Rand Paul is afraid to debate Charles. And, you know, he should be, after that atrocious vote against our veterans at the very time our Kentucky National Guard was saving lives in Eastern Kentucky. Imagine being so afraid of a black guy from the west end of Louisville ending your career that you don't show up to debate. From the hood to the holler, Charles knows what it takes because he has lived Kentucky's promise. And when he takes that oath as the next United States Senator, he will represent not red Kentucky, not blue Kentucky, but all of Team Kentucky. Now, Now, hey, y'all can boo. I'm a black man in Kentucky. You can't scare me. Now, I want to be clear because we've got the Attorney General here and he's not used to practicing law. So when I say beat, I don't mean in the physical sense. I mean beat like how Steve Beshear beat David Williams and Ernie Fletcher. I mean beat like when Andy Beshear beat Matt Bevin. I mean beat like when Andy Beshear beats whatever Republican makes it off the Gilligan's Island of the GOP primary, unless Kelly Craft gets off her yacht to buy the island first. This Republican primary for governor, I'll tell you, Mike Harmon's here. Savannah Maddox is here, spreading her message, or as the rest of the country knows it, how to spread COVID. Now, look, I should be very, very careful because Savannah runs with a tough crowd, from insurrectionists hanging Andy Beshear in effigy to white supremacists. So just in case Team Maddox is offended by what I say, please understand me when I say, try Jesus, but don't try me. Daniel Cameron asked for zingers for this weekend, and as we've learned throughout his career, and was once again on display earlier this week, whether it's seeking justice for Breonna Taylor or protecting victims of sexual assault, Daniel Cameron always sends someone else to do his job. Jamie Comer is here fresh off his vote to against interracial marriage. So honey, I'm sorry, I guess for our vows we should have said for better or worse, or until Jamie Comer and 156 congressional Republicans vote against us. We have an opportunity to turn Kentucky around, but we cannot do it with these jokers over here. They believe that Kentucky's best days are behind us. I believe we will win this November, tell the truth about these jokers, and get Kentucky back on track. God bless you, Kentucky.
Well, that was fun. Must be tough not having a single elected official east or west of I-65 to deliver that story. All right, so the next up is our Senate candidates, and we've got a flip for speaking position. Steve, where's your coin?
Well, what I can tell so far is it's getting pretty heated in here. What do you think?
Absolutely.
The
zingers are flowing.
I wasn't expecting that.
Welcome to Fancy Farm.
Welcome to Fancy Farm. That's exactly right.
That is the essence of Fancy Farm.
I will say, given the stack against him, he did do a good job fending off the crowd.
Defending, absolutely.
Yeah.
Charles Booker. He is elected to go first.
All right, well, let's see what happens next. It's going to be interesting.
Charles is my former colleague in the House, and his resume reads, one term in the House and lost election. Maybe that'll be the title of his next book. Charles, I really am glad that you made it here today. And as soon as you lose this election this fall, I hope you file for the primary next year, because the people of West Kentucky deserve a Democrat that'll show up at Fancy Farm. I have to admit, people down here were a little bit worried when you went on your Hood to the Holler tour that you had excluded the flatlands of West Kentucky. So I want to know if you're going to amend it to make it the Hood to the Holler to the Hayfield. You have my permission to use that if you want. Many of us know Charles from his 2020 campaign for Senate, and he's here to talk about his 2022 bid for Senate. When he's not running for the Senate, he lives in Louisville with his wife and 3 lovely daughters. Charles, literally the only time in history I'll ever utter these words. The microphone is yours.
How y'all doing? Look, feel free to boo all throughout. Even if you boo, I'm gonna fight for you to get quality health care. Folks, it is an honor to be here today. It's just good to be back. Look, this is often framed as Democrats versus Republicans, but family, we've been through so much. We've been through a devastating tornado, a pandemic where we've lost so many. I lost my childhood pastor. I've lost several in my family. I'm sure you have too. And then this 1,000-year flood, where our loved ones are fighting for survival right now. These have been tough times. And just to be here at this historic event, it reminds me of what it means to come together as family. So Democrat, Republican, Independent, just as a Kentuckian, I love you, and I'm proud to be here with you. And I need you to know something. Kentuckians stand together. When the storms hit, we lock arms. When that tornado hit, we got together. It wasn't about what your party is. It was about how can you help. When that flood hit, the first thing I said was, we got to get to work. Our family needs us. And when I was on the ground volunteering, several folks on the stage were there too. It wasn't about party, it was about humanity. Kentuckians show up. So that's why it should be no surprise to anybody that Rand Paul is nowhere to be found. So hold on. I know Rand Paul sent his better half, but that's unfortunate because this is his job that I'm going to take. Rand Paul has to apologize to you because he can't be here to tell you how much he wants to screw Kentucky. In fact, he's in Washington right now trying to screw you as we speak. But folks, that's not the only reason he's not here. That's not the only reason he's not here. Rand Paul had a major appointment today that he couldn't miss. Today was his monthly hair appointment. That perm wasn't gonna fix itself, he had to be there. I know you wanna see him. And I don't know if you all knew this, but this week is International Clown Week. Did y'all know that? So Rand's busy right now. He's working on his routine, doing everything he can to embarrass Kentucky and to make kids cry. And folks, look, he's a terrible senator. This man has introduced 0 bills that have passed in his 2 terms. He said he would only serve 2 terms. He was lying. He's introduced 0 bills. As terrible as he is as a senator, he is the best clown there is. So he's busy today. And look, it doesn't even really matter that he's not here. There's rocks sitting around out there. Go pick up a rock. A rock in the U.S. Senate would do more for Kentucky than Rand Paul. Now, the fact of the matter, and as Speaker Osborne and several others are talking about, Rand Paul's afraid to debate me. He's afraid to face me. He's afraid to face you because he knows we're going to call out his BS. Matter of fact, Rand Paul does not care about Kentucky. Rand Paul probably couldn't find Kentucky on a map, and the only reason he moved to Kentucky, he was on his way from Texas to Russia and ran out of gas. And this man has been trying to get to Russia ever since. Hold on a second. What is with this man's love affair with Vladimir Putin? I mean, he's betraying our allies, he's disrespecting our veterans, he's throwing democracy off the cliff. Also, he can touch the hem of Rand Paul, of Vladimir Putin's garment. Look, let's be clear. That letter he hand-delivered to Putin, hey, Rand, be honest, that was the love letter, wasn't it? I know it had lipstick kisses on it and hearts drawn in crayon. And while he's trying to make up to Vladimir, we have real issues here. So let me be really plain with the time I have left. I'm speaking to you because I love you. No, I do not like Rand Paul, but I pray that God works on him. We just don't need him in the U.S. Senate. We don't need him in the Senate because he does not care about our lives. Rand Paul is a joke. He's a clown. He's an embarrassment. He's a fraud. He's a crisis actor. He's a conspiracy theorist. He's a liar. And that's just what Donald Trump would say about him. And don't get me started on what Mitch McConnell thinks about Rand Paul. Folks, he's not even a real libertarian. He doesn't want the government out of your way. He just wants it in his pocket. This man has the best health care your tax dollars can buy, and he still went to Canada to get their socialized medicine. The man is a fraud, and if you wonder why someone would disrespect you so much, Rand Paul's voting against infrastructure because he doesn't care about Kentucky. He is not going to invest in our health care because he doesn't care about Kentucky. He wants big government to make women state property because he doesn't care about Kentucky. This man said he would oppose the Civil Rights Act because he doesn't care about Kentucky, but I do. And I believe that together we can win our future. I'm fighting for a Kentucky New Deal that's life, freedom, and prosperity for every single one of you. Even if you don't agree with everything I stand for, you know I'm standing for you. And in this moment of division, let's come together as family, y'all. Let's fight to win our future. Let's end poverty. Let's stand up for our veterans. Let's stand up for our troops. Send a warrior to Washington, and I'm going to make you proud every day. Let's get Randall Remdesivir Paul out of office and back to Texas. I'd be honored to earn your support. Thank you so much. Let's legalize cannabis. Cole Green is in the room. Breeway is in the room. Let's fight together, y'all. Love y'all.
Now, for the record, Rand Paul voted down a bill that was going to cost billions of dollars to fund every ailment associated with anything related to a military installation, much like you're seeing with Camp Lejeune and things like that.
That's exactly right.
And he didn't say he didn't want to take care of veterans. What he said was, let's go stop reduce funding other countries so we can pay for this.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Then to create another expense on the economy that's unfunded spending.
He wants American dollars to be spent on American people, not overseas.
That's right.
And
he would support that, which would take care of veterans.
And I also want to point out too that Charles Booker, when people ask me what he does for a living, he's a community organizer. So I think we just saw that.
Yes, we did. Go ahead, Mark.
No, let's go ahead and get the next speaker out.
All right.
We all know crap policies are killing the middle class. Record inflation, soaring gas prices, empty shelves. The economy is tanking and every American knows it. What's the Democrat solution? Just raise taxes and double the size of the IRS. Biden says, don't worry, we're not in a recession. Well, I wouldn't expect the Democrats to know what a recession is. They can't even define what a woman is.
Now that's well spoken right there.
Women, Rand and I
Paul.
stand with great female
Go ahead, say it again.
like University
What
of
was that,
I said, go, Miss Paul.
That's
Tell
right.
the truth.
Meanwhile, the Democrats are cheering for the men who are stealing women's rightful athletic victories. We say no more men in women's sports. I am worried, though. I'm worried about Kentucky Democrats. They used to be everywhere, and now you can barely find one. Maybe it's because the Democrats went from promising a chicken in every pot to a drag queen in every school.
I like this lady. Who is this?
This is Rand Paul's wife.
Kelly Paul.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's a great speaker.
Holy cow.
She is so intelligent.
Democrats teaching our kids.
Not to act dumb, but I haven't met her yet.
Yeah,
So.
she's a
Well, come
Yes, she
November,
is.
we're going to say bye-bye to the Democrats and their drag queen. Now, some people ask me, why is Rand so hard on poor Dr. Fauci? Well, it's simple. Because the American people deserve the truth. We deserve the truth about taxpayer funding of dangerous gain-of-function research in a Chinese lab. We deserve the truth about the origins of a virus that killed millions of people. Rand Paul spoke out when everyone else was afraid to. Despite Fauci lying about the origins of COVID, Rand convinced every senator, Republican and Democrat, to vote for his amendment to immediately stop funding risky experiments in China. Now, I promise you this. Come November, when we win, Rand Paul will subpoena every last document of Dr.
Well, I think that should be done a long time ago.
Absolutely.
Violence is on the rise across Kentucky and across America. Now Charles has a solution. He wants to defund the police. When his best friend, Quintez Brown, tried to assassinate a Louisville politician, Charles was unusually quiet. When Black Lives Matter bailed the assassin out of jail after just 2 days, not a peep from his good friend Charles. But when asked on television whether he favored defunding our police, Charles was loud and clear. Now is the time, he said. Louisville now has more murders per capita than Chicago. In the West End, kids aren't safe at the bus stop. But what does Charles want to do? Defund the police. Over 20 children murdered in Louisville this year. And Charles's response? Defund the police as soon as possible. Have y'all seen Charles' new TV ad? It really reminds me of somebody. It looks like he was inspired by Jussie Smollett. Now, I'm not sure who should be more embarrassed, Jussie or Charles. Now, they say charity begins at home. I guess Charles takes that literally since he pays himself $150,000 a year from his so-called charity. You know what? I have a good idea for him. Maybe he should rename it From the Hood to the Dollar. Kentuckians will reject Charles and his Democrat platform because it is dividing Americans. It is not uniting us. Democrats say America is a hateful nation, a racist nation. Republicans, we love our country. We believe every life has value. Yes. That is why Rand Paul will continue to be Kentucky's great defender of the United States Constitution, which enshrines the rights of every American and that they come from our Creator, not from the government. Rand never forgets that he fights for you and for our country, which is the symbol of hope, freedom, and opportunity around the world.
Wow, that was a great response.
I could have probably listened to her for an hour. I could have listened to her for an hour.
Absolutely. That's right.
We've had her up at Meade County before. I think we should get her back again.
I think we should.
Hey, I've often said that that's the biggest thing about our platform is we are together united, not divided. And that seems to be always the message of coming from the Democratic Party is that they want to divide us.
That's right.
And it's wrong.
That's absolutely
That is
wrong.
not the message of our kids.
We have to be united.
That's right.
You know, you have to think about why all of a sudden, the last couple of times Schumer is from being able to that this is all about this is all about trying to boost Charles Booker's campaign and not and keep our senators from having a voice.
That's okay. Miss Kelly Paul represented Rand
absolutely.
Paul. Yeah.
Well, this who gets to go first. Let's see what they're going to say here.
Next up at bat, Congressman Jamie Comer.
All right, here we go.
All right, Jamie.
I'm told he doesn't need any introduction, but that's not going to stop me. Last time the Speaker of the House emceed this picnic, it was Jody Richards. Just so Jamie had the same hair color. Is there any coincidence that after they both left the house, it turned gray? Or did just for men to discontinue a color? I'll point out, Jamie, when you look at pictures from me back when we first met in 2005, clearly what little bit of hair I have left is gray as well. Gray looks good on you, Jamie. Either way, you're a familiar face throughout the Commonwealth in the 1st District. As the next chair of House Committee of Oversight and Reform, Jamie, this crowd has always been good to you. as have the voters of Kentucky. In fact, you've only lost one election, Jamie, and I know that one probably still hurts, but look at it like this. You're the one still elected, and on top of that, you're the only one still in Frankfort. Jamie Comer.
All right. Thank you. It's great to be back at the Fancy Farm Picnic, the greatest stage in Kentucky politics. Now, let me begin by thanking the Democrats who are here. Seriously, we need Democrat participation to keep this great tradition alive. So, since there aren't any Democrats left in West Kentucky, I am really happy to see all these great Democrats from Louisville and Lexington who made the trip to West Kentucky today. We want y'all to come back next year. So much has changed in Washington since I was on this stage last year. Joe Biden came out of the basement. Kamala Harris was named Southern Border Czar. Nancy Pelosi just became America's greatest stock trader. The Democrats averted a recession simply by changing the definition of recession. If Herbert Hoover were alive today, he'd be kicking himself for, why did I think of that? And as has been the case for the past decade, Democrat leaders in Washington continue to move further and further to the left. Democrats in Washington are so liberal and so woke now that they can't even define what a woman is. And even worse, they say men can have babies. The Democrat Party has had complete control in Washington for the past year and a half. They control the House, the Senate, and the White House. So what have they done with this complete control? Well, the Democrats converted the Trump energy policy, where America was energy independent, to the Green New Deal, where America is now begging Saudi Arabia for more oil.
Well, he definitely has a big group behind us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's a favorite
Sea
here.
of Blue, Homer Blue.
Yeah, he's a crowd favorite in this area.
Oh, absolutely.
Allowed 3 million illegals into the United States. Democrats inherited the strongest economy in my adult lifetime, and they wasted so much of our hard-earned tax dollars that we now have inflation for the first time in my adult lifetime. And unless you're Nancy Pelosi's husband, you've lost a big chunk of your retirement savings under complete Democrat control. In fact, the only other person in America who I can think of besides Paul and Nancy Pelosi who can truly say they're better off now than they were when Joe Biden first became president is Hunter Biden. But my friends, if you remember one thing from my speech today, remember this. The days of the Biden family influence peddling with our adversaries around the world is about to come to an end. And unlike Adam Schiff, I know what I'm talking about. Stay tuned to Fox News for more. Now, my friends, there's a solution to the disastrous policies of Democrats in Washington. This November, America can vote Republican. A vote for Republicans this fall will be a vote for 4 major things: an economy that's strong, a nation that's safe, a future that's free, and a government that's accountable. Republicans will once again make America energy independent. Republicans will fight crime by funding the police and securing the border. Republicans will ensure that every child can succeed and have individual liberty. And Republicans will hold the Biden administration accountable. If I'm reelected in November, I'll become chairman of the powerful House Oversight Committee, and I will lead the fight to keep the government off the backs of private business, work to reduce waste, fraud, and abuse, investigate the origins of COVID, and yes, it was the Wuhan virus all along, and finally hold this Biden administration accountable. I will continue to be a leader in agriculture by virtue of being one of the only farmers in Congress, and I will continue to be an active, energetic congressman for all of West Kentucky and Central Kentucky. Thank you for your support and friendship over the years, and let's go vote Republican this fall. Thank you all.
Laid out some good points on why you should go vote Republican this fall.
I'll tell you, and listen to the crowd. I mean, they are going nuts behind us.
Yeah.
Wow, this
Our
is
next speaker,
what a treat.
is Democratic candidate for the 1st Congressional District, Jimmy Osbrooks. What can we say about Jimmy Osbrooks? Seriously, what can we say about Jimmy Osbrooks? Mr. Secretary of State, did you check his ID? Jimmy also ran in the 2020 primary for Senate, also lost to Amy McGrath. According to his bio, Jimmy Osbrooks is a licensed professional counselor associate who lives in Simpson County, and one of his campaign priorities is the economy. Jimmy, I'm not sure Kentuckians can take much more of the Democratic Party's approach to the economy. Let's hear what you have to say.
I want to take just one brief moment because standing here today is a first. I am the first mental health professional to ever run for federal office. I'm also the first openly gay candidate to ever make it to the general election on any ballot in Kentucky's history. I am a proud native of Kentucky, born and raised, and I see firsthand as a mental health professional each person that is affected by the pandemic, that's affected by this side of the room. And I am glad that Miss Paul left because that was an insult to me and to many of my friends. We are human beings. We are people. And when I look across this audience, I see not Republicans or party, anything. I see people. And you cannot stand here, sit here, and say that you do not know one person that belongs to the LGBTQ plus community. They're in your families. They're in your neighborhood. They are not.
Does that stand for Let's Get Biden to Quit? Is that what I heard? That
This is a time.
Let's get Biden
I haven't
to
heard
quit.
that, but that's interesting.
Let's get Biden to.
As a state, when I go to D.C., I am going to represent each and every one of you. Even though you are biased against me, I still believe in you. And you have an opportunity to have someone that's actually going to listen to you. Because when I walk into the Capitol, my party gets set to the side because I am here to represent each and every one of you in the Commonwealth and in the nation. So you can sit here and you can laugh at
Why do you
me.
suppose he feels that, or he believes that we're automatically biased against him?
Well, that goes back to that same narrative we had a second ago about the divisiveness.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, there's somebody. I mean, we're not. I mean, there's a lot of LGBTQ Republicans out there.
Absolutely.
You know, they just and so it's not a party thing. It's he's just automatically he's creating attention with his speech.
I might be looking at it a little bit different than he does, but I don't think Miss Paul actually insulted anyone
I
from
didn't
that
hear it
community.
at all.
I didn't hear
She
an
said
insult.
unity. She said unity
That's
in the
exactly right.
Republic.
And she
Yeah.
and she supported women in sports.
That's right. I mean, what's wrong
totally
with
in
that?
agreement. I don't see a thing wrong with that.
Not at all.
Now, if the LGBTQ community wants to, fight for LGBTQ, and I can't even say that fast enough. sports, then let's have that discussion.
That's a good idea. Absolutely. Let's create a different type of sport.
Well, let's let him finish it out.
All right.
This is a first. Charles and I are going to make a difference in D.C. And you are going to appreciate and invite us both back at this next picnic. And you're going to be changing your attitude because we're going to prove to you that we care about you and that we are here to represent you. And I see someone over here holding a sign. And yes. What are you saying, ma'am? Yeah, too.
Not a good use of his time.
Not at all.
Not
That's
a
right.
good use. This is the time to grandstand, and the crowd is screaming,
It's
"Who
not-
are you? Who are you?"
And it's not fair.
Well, and I don't doubt him at all that he cares. There's complete, obviously, or he wouldn't be on the stand.
No,
I
that's
complete,
right.
have complete admiration for him.
But
as
that's
a
not the type of
Democrat.
leadership we need, though. We need somebody with assertiveness, and that seems too passive for me
exactly
for
right. I
what you have to do in a leader position.
Take control. We want somebody to take charge.
That's right.
And all I can tell you is that I am proud.
I'm sorry, sensitive doesn't win wars when it's time to make the most critical decisions for our nation.
Not at all. Absolutely not. We need somebody that's decisive and strong and committed.
Well, courage to him for getting up there. Tough crowd, but
I think that he ran out of speech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
he knew he had a
that's
lot of
right.
time
That's
because
right.
I think he was waiting for the stop
The
sign.
bus
And he just
stop.
wanted to use his
He might have got a vote out of the
because
person that's holding the
he
sign.
He basically held it out.
That's
Maybe.
No.
But don't assume the bias. Don't assume the bias.
Moving right along. I'm sure we're all looking forward to hearing from State Treasurer Allison Ball.
We're always
Just recently
always
announced
she's
we're always looking forward to hearing from Allison.
I thought she was a firecracker when we saw her.
Oh, she's awesome.
Absolutely. She's awesome.
to auditing Kentucky's books.
Keep them straight.
As you all may remember, there was another Allison in Frankfurt when the treasurer was elected. They rapidly became known as Good Allison and Bad Allison.
Well, I don't know how the folks are thinking this is going at home, but I got to tell you that if you're watching this, it is not the same as being here.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's an experience.
It is an experience, and you should come down here. It's a great way to have a fundraiser.
It sure is.
You know, we were talking. How come we don't have something like this in Meade
How can
County?
we compete with 142 years of finance?
It's hard.
Right?
It's hard.
We start with year number one.
Year one, all right.
It's like,
That's right.
it's like beginning a
You'll never
workout
catch up, but
routine.
you can start piling them on.
That's right. Well, with all of our growth, I think it's time we start some new traditions.
That sounds good. All right.
I agree.
Unclaimed property to its rightful owners. Let's welcome Allison to the stage.
Well, I am excited to be at Fancy Farm as your state treasurer. I'm excited next year to be running for state auditor. And the first thing I want to do is say hi to all the Republicans on this side of the room. And I'm a nice person, so I want to say hi to the Democrats who are over here. And any independents who are here, wherever you are, I'm going to say hi to you too. The only people I can't say hi to today are Democrat statewide elected officials. Where are you guys? And if we're lucky, next year, by the end of next year, there won't be any statewide Democrat elected officials left. I also want to say hi to the Fancy Farm organizers. I want to thank you again for pulling off such a great event and for welcoming me and inviting me again. And I've got a tip for you guys. Wherever you are, I've got a tip for you. If you want to get the governor here next year, I know what you need to do. You need to tell him you're changing the format to a press conference. I was sorry to miss last year. Some of you may remember that I actually gave birth just a few days before Fancy Farm last year to my little girl Marigold. She just turned 1, and she may be the first constitutional officer to give birth twice while serving in office. So I'm a working mom. I'm like a lot of you women out there. I'm a working mom, and those of you who are working moms know we've got a lot of stuff to keep track of all the time. I mean, it is tough. We got to hold a whole bunch of things in our head. We got to keep track of things, and it's tough. It's tough to do all of that. So I don't even remember my husband husband's phone number anymore because it's in my cell. I don't have to remember it. I can just look at it. It's always there. And I don't know my license plate number either. If only there was a list of license plate numbers. Oh, wait, the governor's got that. He got that when he sent state police on Easter Sunday to write down all of our license plate numbers. Do you remember that? And I found coming out of the pandemic that it's really important to have community. It's great to be with all of you face to face, and I want to know more people who are like me. So I thought, I'd like to know more Christians, more people who are like me in my neighborhood. If only there was a list for that. Oh, wait. The governor's got that list too. He's got a list of Christians and people of faith. Remember when he got that, when he sent police officers to monitor and stop people from attending church, from exercising their First Amendment rights to freely worship. And I thought this was America, right? Right? Well, hey, Governor, wherever you are, if you're listening, we've got a list on the Republican side, too, and our list is made up of Democrats who have switched to Republican in the last few years, making the Republican Party the largest party in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. It's happening all over the state. My nanny and papa in Floyd County have been lifelong Democrats, dyed-in-the-wool Democrats. A few years ago, they switched their registration to Republican. It's happening everywhere. And I'll tell you, you know that the Democrat Party is becoming unpopular when their nominee for U.S. Senate is publicly considering leaving the Democrat Party. That should tell you something. And Charles, I can't say I blame you because the leader of the Democrat Party in this country is Joe Biden, a man whose approval rating equals about the number of boosters he wants to mandate on all of us. A man who, when we hear he's got a cabinet meeting, we think to ourselves, did he also have a meeting with his bookcase? And did he talk to his desk? I actually have a Joe Biden inflation joke, but it's just not worth anything anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, all over the Commonwealth of Kentucky, people are switching their registration from Democrat to Republican. We are growing by leaps and bounds, and that's because in Kentucky, people are tired of progressive, liberal, failed collectivist policies. So from the hood to the holler, people are joining the Republican Party. Thank you very much.
Wow.
It's always great to hear from Allison.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Yep. Now we know who one of our auditor candidates is also.
Yeah.
She'll do a great job.
She will. Well, that's, Mike Harmon has termed out. So
that's correct.
Yeah.
That's
so
correct.
So we're looking for a new auditor, and I think Allison would be great.
Nobody understands how somebody with that haircut can make it easier to vote and harder to cheat. Now, Michael's a smart guy. If he hadn't already told you, he went to Harvard. He's an election lawyer, but there are still some that can't handle the fact that he has the audacity to believe that you should have to prove who you are before you can vote. Until 2019, Michael was best known as being Scott Jennings' roommate. And if he wasn't Secretary of State, he'd still be pretending to be a drummer in a rock band. I'm certain it thrilled his wife to know that she's gotten him out of the house and into the Secretary of State's office. Michael, welcome to the stage.
Hello, Fancy Farm. Can we get a happy birthday to my beautiful bride, Christina? Happy birthday, sweetie. Democrats, welcome back to Fancy Farm. We missed you. Be sure and try our local barbecue before you get back on the bus to Chicago or St. Louis. We do have at least one Democrat with us today who's actually from Kentucky, State Democratic Chairman Coleman Elridge. Mr. Chairman, thank you for being with us today, and may I say, the Titanic could not have a better captain.
Oh, my God.
I'm proud to serve as your Secretary of State. We're running elections.
You got to remember, everybody, this is what Fancy Farm's all about. It's the digs, it's the jeers, it's the cheers.
This guy had the courage to lock things up and to make it right for Kentucky and our votes.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's correct.
We're one of the most accurate and easy to vote states. All you have to do is prove who you are.
You mean dead people can't vote in this state?
Not in this state. Not, at least not since Michael Adams has taken office.
He removed 130,000 dead people from the voter rolls.
Yeah, I mean, wow. That by itself means those people aren't going to be able to vote.
Right. Well, and I think that voter integrity is crucial and very important to all of us.
That's
Absolutely.
right.
Well, let's let our fans listen to why we think so highly of
on
him.
another continent than to be with any of us in Western Kentucky. This disrespect for Fancy Farm perfectly encapsulates the Democratic Party's disrespect for rural America. My office recently announced that for the first time in history, there are now more registered Republicans than registered Democrats in Kentucky. The Democratic Party, the party of my forefathers, was once a great party, especially here in Western Kentucky. What changed? Democrats made 3 mistakes. 1, they disrespected rural voters as we see today. 2, they began attacking each other. Not smart. And 3, they became too extreme and left common sense behind. There's a lesson here for Republicans. There but for the grace of God go we. We have to listen to the people. We cannot attack each other, and we can't turn our party over to the extremes and lose touch with the common sense we find here in Western Kentucky. Our party is growing because we're letting people in. Let's not kick people out. I'm glad we have such great candidates for governor here today. I'm sure there will be more soon. I'm proud to call them all friends. And I look forward
was that
to
an
supporting
indication?
whoever's our nominee. And to
There was a lot of
GOP
truth in what he
sweeping
said in
all
there, right?
7
That's
constitutional offices next year.
There'll be more candidates announced for
In
governor.
2023, I will stand
might
again
be
to be your
interesting.
Secretary of State. In my 3 years in office, we've taken Kentucky from the back of the pack to become a national leader in election integrity. With photo ID to vote, cleaned up voter rolls, a ban on ballot harvesting, video surveillance of our ballot boxes, transition to paper ballots, so we always have the security of a paper trail. And with early voting, we've ended 100 years of Democrat voter suppression in this state, letting working people vote.
I think that's important.
It is. I mean, he's expanded the opportunity to vote without giving up integrity.
These achievements,
Yeah, we know some people with integrity issues, but we won't go there on this show today.
But I've never been partisan or unfair in my job, and I never will. I've served all Kentuckians, and I always will. Thank you, Fancy Farm, and I'll see you next year.
I hope I see him for years to come.
Yeah.
I've been so honored to have the opportunity to work with him for my paper ballot bill and put legislation in place that the voting machines cannot be attached to the internets. And
Yeah, I like that.
You know, Nancy, I know I've said this to you personally before, but I'm very proud that Jeremiah is representative.
Thank you very much.
You've done an excellent job, and I wanted to make sure that we said that to you today.
Thank you. Well, I've taken the problems of Kentucky and embraced those. I haven't said that's not my problem, it's somebody
That's right.
else's.
And I see that every day. I see how hard you work for Meade County, and those parts of Hardin County that you represent. I think you do an excellent job, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
It's
my honor.
Regulatory function. In fact, he's done such a fine job, we keep passing legislation to give the Ag Commissioner more and more authority. In fact, I'm not really sure, Ryan, why you're running for governor. At this rate, you're going to have more authority than he does. To Richard Heath or Jonathan Shell, the spoils shall go
Now,
to you.
if you're watching, Ryan's about to come up, and he's actually going to be in Meade County on Monday night at Robbins Family Farms for a fundraiser, which you can attend. There's flyers all going around.
Yep.
They're posted on our website, so stay tuned because Ryan is up next.
Yeah, Ryan's been a great friend for Meade County and Hardin County. Well, all the rural counties.
Yeah, he comes down all the time, and he visits both Republican and Democrat farmers, and he really cares about the farmers and the working farms of the county, of the state.
And the state. Yep. I think it's because he's walked the walk.
I mean, he's done trips to foreign countries, and let's hear him speak.
All right.
Good afternoon, Fancy Farm. Well, friends, here we are again, like a moth to a flame, like Andy Bashir to giant checks, like a Kentucky Attorney General to a governor's race. I am once more drawn back to my favorite place on earth, West Kentucky. And how about a hand for our MC, Speaker David Osborne? He drove all the way down here for some peace and quiet, and I'm sure that after leading a caucus of 75 Republicans in Frankfurt, we were ready for a more calm and agreeable crowd today. Kelly Paul, wasn't she amazing? She's full of spice, quite the public speaker. Charles Booker is here. Spoiler alert, he won't be here next year. Congressman Comer is here. Thank you for all you do fighting the Democrat socialist agenda. Now let's fire Nancy Pelosi. It's always great to see my fellow constitutional officers, Allison Ball, Daniel Cameron, Mike Harmon, and Frazier's brother, our Secretary of State, Niles Crane. Great to see you. And just like most of our constitutional officers, when I stand on this stage and promise Kentucky 2 terms in office, I meant it. Now, Kentucky, I have some great news for you. For the first time ever in over 150 years, Kentucky is now a majority Republican state. And I want to say thank you. Thank you, Mitch McConnell, for being there every single one of those years, helping grow our party. Now, folks, it's time for a new governor of the Commonwealth, and I hope to earn your vote. Let's not forget that Andy Beshear was the shut-down governor. He shut down our economy. He shut down our mom-and-pop stores. He killed countless jobs and kept the big-box stores open. And worst of all, he sent police to our churches on Easter Sunday to harass Christians. Folks, just because we live through a global pandemic doesn't mean that our rights, our freedoms, and liberties should be tossed out the window. I'm Christian. I'm pro-life. I'm pro-gun. Folks, we need to fund our police and not defund our police. And as we learned in Virginia, parents should have a say-so in what's being taught in their schools. And I believe that it's wrong to let biological boys compete with girls in women's sports. And it's time to stop paying people to sit at home and watch Netflix and not work. Let's get them back into the job market. Good people of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, running for governor shouldn't be about who has the biggest insults, but who has the biggest ideas. I led the effort to help reopen our state. I beat Andy Beshear in court to protect our small businesses, and with your help, I'll beat them at the ballot box next year. Now, folks, here in Graves County, you all been through a lot this past year. In West and Western Kentucky, tornadoes may have knocked us down. And in East Kentucky, we are holding on to what makes life matter right now. But it is the resolve and resiliency of Kentuckians that pick us all back up. In the past 6 days, I've delivered over 5 tons of donated supplies to Eastern Kentucky because I know Kentucky is best when we unite together. And when things get tough, that we need to have a governor who's tough enough to unite all of us. And I ask for your support. May God bless you, and may God bless the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Thank you all so much.
Wow. Well, you know, they're back there, cheering Andy Beshear in the background while he's talking
because that's Booker's group.
Thanks, and right behind us, we got a Corals group.
Next
so
in the lineup is the 51st Attorney
he's
General
by
of
the
the
paper that was
Commonwealth of
provided to us. He's the front runner right now.
Right, he is.
Yep, he seems to be, and
Right now.
there are others that are going to get in the race, and I think that even if those others jump in, that keeps that help. I think Ryan will still be the front runner, but it's got it's a long way to go, and he's busy.
He's very busy. That's right. He's got a great campaign team. He's got a great history. So he has to keep reminding us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to shortchange the rest of the field. I think that Daniel Cameron is right there, neck and neck.
Excellent. He's an excellent Attorney General. Great candidate.
He is.
Absolutely
And well
great
liked
candidate.
all across
highly
the Commonwealth.
regarded. We've got some amazing candidates.
We do.
Absolutely amazing candidites.
They called it the Crown Bus or something earlier, but
and they keep it clean.
Right, kept it clean. Yeah, he spoke a lot of truth. And
let's let him hear him introduce him.
I think.
Married a good Oldham County girl, Mackenzie. We thank you. let's hear what you have to say.
My friends, it is good to be back at Fancy Farm. And of course, I brought the prettiest campaigner I know with me, my wife, Mackenzie. Now, a lot has changed since the last time we were here. Kentucky has added more Republicans to the voter rolls, and we've added a baby boy to our family. Now, I know a lot of you wanted to see Theodore, but he's not here this year. He'll consider coming next year when I'm the Republican nominee for governor of Kentucky. But for a moment, I want to focus on our brothers and sisters in eastern Kentucky who are suffering through the floods, and on those who lost so much here in West Kentucky after the tornadoes. I want you to know that we might be sharing a few laughs today, but whether we're Republican or Democrat, know that we are with you. When natural disasters strike, we take off our partisan hats and we root for each other. We help repair and we help rebuild. We cry together and we laugh together and we pick each other up. And that's what I've seen during the devastation left by the tornadoes and the floods. We've seen school teachers organize food pantries. We've seen basketball teams hold telethons. And we've seen church members set up food and clothing pantries. We've witnessed the heart of our people, and we've witnessed our people be the hands and feet of Christ. And to those in our law enforcement community who have given so much, to the families of those brave men in Floyd County, and to the family of Jody Cash in Callaway County, know that we will always have your back and we will always support the blue. Now, of course, this wouldn't be Fancy Farm if I didn't talk a little bit about our campaign. Now, you guys might have heard that I was endorsed by President Donald J. Trump. Now, people have speculated about how I got that endorsement. So today, I'm going to spill the beans. It was actually pretty easy. So, Nick Storm, listen up, buddy. All I had to do was assure Trump that Mitch McConnell is not Mackenzie's grandfather. But whether it's Trump, whether it's Susan B. Anthony, Pro-Life America, or the over 50 law enforcement officials that have backed this campaign, they all know one thing, that I am the best candidate and the only candidate that can beat Andy Beshear next fall. I mean, it's no wonder why the Democratic Party attacks me so often. They've seen the polls and they know the truth. When I'm the nominee, we will finally retire the Beshears from office in 2023. Look, Republicans need a nominee who's been in the arena, and ladies and gentlemen, I have been in the arena. Now, there's only one candidate who can say that he has ended abortions in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. There's only one candidate who can say that he has fought for your constitutional rights all the way to the United States Supreme Court. And there's only one candidate who has gone toe-to-toe with the Biden administration and has won. You all know my track record, and you know my values. Over these last 3 years, Mackenzie and I have been tested, but we have never wavered. And we know this is going to be a tough campaign. The Democrats will do and say anything.
We get lip reading. At the end there, he said, God bless America, God bless the Commonwealth.
Hey, that's what I heard he say. It is so loud right where we are with those speakers.
It is.
But it's okay. We still get the play-by-play. So a great candidate coming forward.
Yes.
A big supporter of your bill.
Absolutely, very big supporter. And he has demonstrated he's a constitutional purist every day.
There's a lot of, I had a question I asked him personally. I said, why are you giving up the seat And the GOP for the RNC, he's one of the top picks for a Supreme Court nominee.
That's correct. He's on the long list.
He's willing to give that up to be our governor.
To be our governor.
It's something people should know.
There's no stranger to this stage either. In fact, my governor so long ago that it's actually the second time here as a candidate for the same office for the same election. Auditor Harmon is a great guy and someone you won your corner, especially if you enjoy stand-up comedy delivered by your dad. Mike is a graduate of Eastern Kentucky University with degrees in math, statistics, and theater.
Now, Mike's been a good visitor to the county as well.
Yes, he's a big friend of Meade County. You know, and it makes it tough for us to decide, you know, in Meade County.
People ask me who I'm going to endorse. I'm going to endorse whoever wins the primary.
That's
we've
what
got
we've
some
been saying.
great candidates.
We've been having the same conversations.
That's correct.
Now let's see if he opens with the same joke.
First, I want to say that I and all of Kentucky have the people of Eastern Kentucky in our prayers after the most recent flooding. Also, I appreciate the strong spirit of the people in this area, and please know that you remain in my prayers and the prayers of many after the devastation of the tornadoes that hit especially hard right here in Graves County. Now, I am honored to be in my 7th year serving as your Kentucky State Auditor, and I've made it a point to attend the Fancy Farm Picnic every year I've been invited. That's just one difference between me and the current governor. Now, last year, I thought that the governor didn't want to be the only Democrat on stage, but this year he originally planned to literally leave the country for what I can only imagine was to avoid being on stage with Charles Booker. But I do want to give Charles Booker credit for showing up to represent the Democrat Party here at Fancy Farm. There aren't many people left in Kentucky who want to defend the woke and broke liberal agenda of the current Democrat Party. Now, for some reason, it seems like Governor Beshear is afraid to come back to Fancy Farm. I guess that shouldn't be a surprise because he let fear drive most of his policy decisions. He shut down businesses so people couldn't work. He shut down church buildings so people couldn't worship. And he even shut down the road that goes between the state capitol and the annex building, all because of fear. Now, I don't know about you, but I've had enough of government making decisions that are motivated by fear. That's why I'm running for governor and traveling around the state to share my message of choosing freedom over fear. Now, I was the very first Republican to announce a run for governor, but to be honest with you, the field is getting kind of crowded. Just like people complaining about Beshear Biden inflation, everyone's doing it. Now, one of my favorite things about Fancy Farm is that joke telling is encouraged, even if they are dad jokes, or in my case, granddad jokes. So the theme of this year is, you might be a Beshear Biden Democrat. All righty, we ready? If you tell everybody the economy is on fire, but fail to say it's a dumpster fire, you might be a Beshear Biden Democrat. If you believe that mandates are great, but you just wish they would be called person dates, you might be a Beshear Biden Democrat. If you think concerned parents should be prosecuted as domestic terrorists, but shoplifters, you might be a Beshear Biden Democrat. If you're releasing oil from the strategic reserves to lower gas prices in China, you might be a Beshear Biden Democrat. If you've ever responded to a Jeopardy question of ways to improve safety with what is defund the police, you might be a Beshear Biden Democrat. And lastly, if you're a governor who refuses to show up to the Super Bowl of Kentucky politics 2 years in a row, you might be a Beshear going home in 2023. Yeah. One thing that's for sure is the voters of Kentucky will have a clear choice in 2023, and I hope you will choose freedom at mycarmen.com. Thank you all, and God bless.
You know, I feel like he brought a sense of humor, but I think I was looking for a little bit more out of him on the stage.
You know, I thought he made his points.
I think he made his points very clear. I like those.
And
Absolutely.
he attacked the
Democrat.
Democrat opponent. I mean, the ultimate opponent is going to be Andy Bashir, and that's who he focused on. He didn't focus on Republicans. He's looking beyond the primary and getting right to
well, I think
the
Cameron
nitty-gritty.
focused on his record, which was important for him.
Yep.
But just a different approach. I wasn't expecting it.
Well, you know, people say, too, that local politics don't matter. Any Democrat in this state will be connected to the Bashir-Biden administration, whether they want it or not.
Absolutely.
Sven has always been a bit of a political junkie. I'm told that she got her first Sarah Palin starter kit as a teenager with live rounds. I also want to warn you, Savannah, if you win this election for governor, you're still going to have to work with us in the legislature. Just ask Andy. Savannah, come to the stage.
Well, first off, I want to thank Mr. Speaker. I really hope that he was able to call upon the lady from Grant for the first time without getting that burning sensation in his chest like he does on the House floor. But, you know, you've never gavelled me down before, so I'm grateful for that. I am Savannah Maddox, and I am running for governor. Folks, there is so much for the Republican Party to be excited about. Last month, we gained a majority of registered voters for the first time ever, and Kentuckians have put their trust in Republicans to lead, and they expect us to lead from the front. You know, it's interesting running in this field, and the gubernatorial primary is heating up with more than 9 months to go. Looking at this stage, it's clear to me that one of these things is not like the other. No, I'm not talking about the fact that I'm the only mom up here running for governor who understands what Kentucky's families are going through. Look at these guys. They're like the opposite of the Dos Equis beer guy. They're the least interesting men in politics. I will say though, it's great to see Daniel Cameron. No, really. It's great to see Daniel after not seeing him anywhere for the past 2 years, especially when he was in hideout mode during Andy Bashir's lockdowns. Better late than never, I suppose, even if it did take him 9 months to file his very own lawsuit against the governor without glomming on to the efforts of private sector attorneys. And Dr. Ryan Quarles, well, he makes his rounds, but I have to admit, I have always wondered, what exactly does he grow on his farm, and how does he keep his boots so shiny? Seriously, I've never seen a farmer with cleaner boots, and never any mud on his truck. Then again, he did tweet that he gave Bashir the idea of doling out back-to-work bonuses at taxpayer expense, so maybe he grows money trees on his farm. But let's not forget what we're really here to fight for. A chance to dethrone Andy Bashir, the guy who shut down our state, closed schools, and harassed churchgoers on Easter Sunday. I was standing up to the tyrant from day one, long before it was popular or politically expedient to do so. Kentuckians are fed up with the disastrous lack of leadership demonstrated by Joe Biden and Andy Bashir. The question becomes, will Kentucky's next governor be an authentic Republican like Ron DeSantis who will fight for your constitutional rights and freedoms? Or will it be a go-along-to-get-along moderate who is afraid to take decisive action? I am the only gubernatorial candidate who stood with you from day one, fighting against the lockdowns and mandates. The only candidate who publicly opposes red flag laws, and the only candidate with courage and experience to make difficult decisions. For such a time as this, we need a governor who will stand up and fight back like Senator Rand Paul has done for us in Washington. I would like for you all and the folks watching at home to be the first to hear some very exciting news. I am honored to announce that I've been endorsed by Congressman Thomas Massey.
Now, does that matter?
Congressman Massey is a rock-solid defender of the Constitution, and Kentucky's
Oh, and she just went out of time.
But she got that endorsement in there at the end. But, really, truly, I mean, she obviously decided that she was going to start attacking Republicans.
She had to separate herself. She has to separate herself, so that's what she's trying to do.
I have a lot of respect for her, so, you got to do what you have to do. I don't necessarily like that.
I agree.
As a leader of the Republican Party.
Then you got to go sit next to him on again. Right after you get done doing all that, you got to go sit right next to him.
I know it. That's exactly right. Yep.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go back together.
That's Fancy Farm.
Yeah, it's Fancy Farm.
Fancy Farm.
That's right. She embraced the spirit.
I've got another. You didn't ask me.
Holy Spirit, activate. I missed that. What did you say?
All right, so much of the
Side joke.
what we've talked about today,
All right, good. It didn't go on the air.
We know this year is incredibly important, not only for the Commonwealth, but for the country. This November, across the nation, we will have the opportunity to send a conservative House and Senate back to Washington. Kentuckians are poised to play key roles when that happens, as the minority leader becomes the majority leader, when Congressman Comer becomes chair as opposed to ranking member. Every single state house is up for re-election, and I have full confidence we will continue to grow a supermajority. Half the Senate races are up on the ballot, and I am confident that they will continue to grow their majority. And Kentuckians will have the opportunity to vote on 2 constitutional amendments. One amendment will allow the people of Kentucky to affirm that there is no constitutional right to abortion in Kentucky, and another will give the Kentucky General Assembly more flexibility to deal with emergencies like we're seeing today, and that will inevitably challenge our state in the future. Until we meet again, God bless those who are suffering across Kentucky, and God bless the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
That's an end to the Fancy Farm speeches.
That's a wrap. That's right.
Wow. We did all this setup, and you got to see it right here on our show, which is kind of cool.
What an opportunity, right?
So we got to hurry up and get through this because we're getting bogged down by the audio, huh?
Well, it doesn't. I'm just going to say, Nancy, if you had a hand in where we're located, I want to say thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. Absolutely.
And let me get back to our cameras here. Hold on a second. There we go. Anyway.
I appreciate Representative Richard Heath, and he helped us set this up for us, so I complete that.
He did. And thank you for your support, Nancy, and for our show. And you know what? It's a lot of fun.
It is.
We had a lot of fun today, and Nancy, it was awesome having you sitting in with us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I just grabbed this empty seat.
Yeah, we'll have to do this again.
Great. Thank you. Good deal.
Well, listen, I think that's about a wrap for our show. So we got all this background music.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of a trip back to the Berg.
3 hours, yes, sir. After we clean up.
After we clean up, that's right. So anyway, thanks for coming and listening and joining us. Nancy, thanks for joining us as well. We'll see you guys next time, and hopefully we'll be able to come back here to the Fancy Farm, in the every year in the near future. So
and I completely encourage everyone to continue to follow all the candidates and to ask them challenging questions, because you deserve to know what your candidates stand for.
Absolutely.
And if you have questions, send them to us. We're in direct contact with every candidate in the county that's running for the state. Ryan Quarles will be here Monday night at Robbins Family Farm at 6 o'clock. It's going to be an interesting fundraiser there, and your chance to come. And even if your pocket's a little light, come anyway.
That's right, and to listen to listen to all the candidates.
That's right, and then
get familiar.
And then from Meade County to all of you, just so you know, we actually have we're going to be. We lost the camera. We also have Troy Koch, and his fundraiser is going to be Thursday night from 6 to 9. You're hosting that, Nancy.
Yes, sir.
And
my pleasure. At the VFW there in Brandenburg. Yes, I'm honored to do that.
Well, we're going to get off of here. Folks, y'all have a great evening, and thanks for joining us on The Meade Truth.
Good night, everybody.